You're going to join me for another sit-down video on this one. This video is going to be the start of a real breakdown insight into this topic itself. So let's get to the point straight away. The UK government has introduced a side hustle task for those that buy and sell or use online transactions of things on the internet in the United Kingdom. Air Bnb, Uber Eats, Deliveroo, Etsy, Vinted, eBay, Depop. These are the areas that the government is now homing in on and making themselves aware of. They've made a massive investment of about 20-30 million pounds into this, investigation and to essentially collect tax that they believe is owed to them based on the situation. Now, I could take this video in two ways. I could totally tell you my opinion on the government and my opinion on how I think the government is approaching this situation. But before I go into that, I don't think that's what is going to be the best use of my time, and more importantly, not the best use of your time. So let's get clued up together about what this actually means. So the government has created this side hustle tax, and it's to combat the people that they believe that are missing on tax payments that they should be paying. So in the UK, you are able to generate tax-free £12,570, I believe. That might be for if you're 18 or above. I believe it's whatever, as a rule of thumb, it's about 12.5k, right? Now, if you sell on, let's just use the Depop and Etsy for now. I don't have the proficiency to understand Airbnb and Uber Eats. That's not my field, but it is in the same field because it is side hustles and it is just getting a payment in an online transaction. So the side hustle tax essentially is breaking it down that you are eligible to make £1,000 of profit per year tax-free. I believe, to my knowledge, that if you had a job and was paying the bare minimum, so 12.5, and that was what you was getting paid, and then you made £1,000 profit a year, that would sit you in a position of no tax being owed. Now, the issue that is with this situation, before we jump into it or we get carried away, is that because the government uses the words that shout to people very quickly, side hustle and tax, everybody gets nervous before and doesn't, and gets a bit panicked. Now, filing yourself for a self-assessment being employed isn't the be-all and end-all if you have to do that. Even if you don't have to pay anything, you might be somebody that's like, I just want peace of mind. I want to have peace of mind with what I'm doing. I want to know that I am not going to have any random knocks on the door and all these sort of things. I will be honest with you though, guys. There are people that owe lots and lots of money out there. It's not to use as a comparison to say you're safe because there's people who owe more. You should just be genuinely mindful of where you are and make sure that you're being the safest for you, because I think that then it doesn't really matter. As long as you're being safe for you and you're aware of what the situation is and what your leverage points are. Now, a lot of people are getting quite angry about this point, and I totally get it. And I think the two reasons I get it for are a little bit different. I'm going to tangent this one very, very small and come back to the point. The two main reasons why I think that this new side hustle tax is to the detriment of the government and the way that they are orchestrating power through the UK is that, number one, it will be perceived as a massive slap to the face to those who are trying to set up their own businesses, being in the UK, and not to sort of go too politically towards the cost of living and things like this, and I only invert it because it's a word that's come around recently, but the reason most people started creating side hustles was because they weren't being paid enough, or that the cost of living just exceeds their income of revenue that they make. And as a result, a side hustle was a way of like helping that bit of life. And obviously this then goes, nope, and take it back. So number one, I think that it's quite a discouragement for people who want to set up their own businesses. And number two, I think that especially within the online transactions of the second-hand buy and sell economy of things, whether it's Facebook Marketplace, whether it's somebody buying used clothes, used books, if people believe and think now that they're going to have to pay tax for something that they didn't have to pay tax for because they're just buying and selling second-hand stuff, not to say, I know that the argument could be, well, everybody that earns money should pay tax. If I'm paying tax, you should pay tax. I agree. I think that if that's a system that we have in place, fair enough. I do think that the angle of approach should have been considered a little bit different, especially with the second-hand economy, because this point itself, I feel, will create an underlying anti-recycling movement as people would rather throw things in the tip, landfill, and just get it disregarded than they will actually try to sell it for a bit of profit or just to sell it so that they don't put it in the bin. I think that the second-hand reselling economy of things is such a proactive approach towards a more sustainable recycling industry, and it's a shame that this has been implemented, and it's a shame that it's been implemented and will discourage those people to actually resell. So that's just my little take on that. But where we kind of need to be, like in an understanding of this really, is we kind of need to look at these first. We need to understand about like profit. And I know that most people will kind of understand what profit is. And, you know, profit, whether it's gross, whether it's net, two differences. Gross profit is the like money that you have made without, like the money that you have made from the thing you have bought at a price without taking away all of the factors that are byproducts of that. Whereas net would be, you know, like a byproduct would be the cost of the bags to send it, the electricity of where you're, you know, hosting a building. Whereas the net is taking everything off and it's just exactly how much profit you made after everything you had to spend out. And that is the biggest point of biggest point of awareness, is because it's £1,000 profit per year. You could be running a business that makes 25k a year, but you might be spending 24.5 grand a year to run it. Now, why would anybody have a business that spends basically the same amount that it makes? Surely that would be an insolvent business. Surely that wouldn't, if somebody's not able to pay themselves and stuff like that. Yeah. However, it just depends on where you are. You could be somebody that's currently living at home, running a little small business, and you want to spend just as much as you make so that you don't pay any tax. I know that when I was doing Gully to its full capacity, I used to spend money as fast as possible on new models or new spaces or new concepts, new things to do in order with the brand, because anything that I could offset against tax meant that it would reduce my bill at the end of the month on my profit. So I didn't care if it didn't look like I was making as much profit. As long as I was investing the money smartly, then that's all that mattered. But the issue is that we've got right now is that a lot of the people that start side hustles most likely have got a job, or at college or at university, or at doing it in a way where it's alongside it at the moment. And it's very easy to hear this news and to get panicked. But I would say that the two things you want to just do, simply do, is you want to understand like where you're at in this journey of how much you actually make. So, you know, let me ask some questions and you can sit there and watch them. So, how much revenue have you generated in, like, say, a month? What's the last month of generated money that you've had so far? And how much have you had to spend out for that? Did you travel anywhere in a car or in the bus? Did you get a coffee and go for a work meeting whilst hand picking? You know, did you buy any equipment for photography studios or anything? You know, anything you buy, as long as it's something that you've used for what is the purpose, can be offset against that to help your bill be reduced. Like, it sounds more daunting than it is. And I think that where it seems probably a little bit more technical is that if you have a job already, you're probably a little bit more susceptible to go, you know what, I don't need to do this. I don't need to be a seller. I've got a job. I don't need to have extra tax. I just think that understanding where your profit is, understanding where you actually want to go with this, but kind of like start to get yourself clued up with how the UK government works, how the government of it all works, how self-assessment tax works, how self-assessment, how you file a self-assessment form, how you understand gross and net profits. You know, certain things you can kind of take to the internet, and anything else that you want me to break down, like in terms of a specific point, I can do in the comments. Basically what my videos are at the moment is I'm planting a lot of seeds, and I'm waiting to see which one of you like gets triggered by something enough to ask a question, and I will make a video extensively about that question. It's not all doom and gloom, guys. Paying tax is just a part of life, and unfortunately, we all have to do it, so we can't all complain that we have to do it for this. However, I do think, and it's not just because I've been in this industry, but I do think that the second-hand economy of things is slightly different, as it is products that have had VAT already paid on, that are helping support a recycling economy. There's going to be some big funding put into people who are genuinely recycling and being sustainable in the upcoming and foreseeable future. I guarantee you, because it's very important and it's impactful. But yeah, this was just a little taster, a little test thought into this topic. I'm going to look forward to breaking this one down more. Feel free to drop a comment if you want me to expand on any point of this or anything else. And yeah, I'll join you on the next one with some more deep topics.